Greetings, greetings, greetings. Let me position the phone. Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. That's a great. It's a great. It's a great one. It ain't even as good. It's just just unplug this time. Perfect. Greetings, greetings, greetings. Gratitude, gratitude for everything that's happening. Greetings, greetings, greetings. Probably need to just turn that on. Oh yes. Ooh, yes. Greetings, y'all. Peace and greetings, love. Let me tell you, I'm not no relationship expert, but I'm finna like, I gotta say some things that make y'all like really use y'all mind, y'all left and right brain. This is where the imbalance is. A lot of stuff that's coming back into balance right now, man. I had to really talk about this shit. I had to really talk about something that's very vital. And I've been noticing, like, as I've spoken before, this trend with a lot of things. First, let's give honor to Source, the Creator, the Most High, whatever your higher power is. Let's give honor to um, the Source for making all these things possible, to aligning a lot of you here, and so forth. Um, man, these birds is flying messages, birds and messages. Cause whoa, the way they flying so close, something coming in fast. So anywho, let me jump right into this. Um, don't mind me. It's not even a distraction. I just be seeing when people walk by, I see certain things. I just get clarity. Um, I was getting major revelation and clarity as I was walking with my son the other day, and as I was doing a video, my previous video that I created, I realized like I was on like a low percentage on my phone to where I could not or didn't have the capacity at that moment to continue. But here I am now, and the more I get clarity and insight on things personally, or just, from my own experience, I realize like, whoa, here I am saying like, let me just take a take a few months break. Let me go away from social media, certain things. But the messages be messaging, man. Like I know when it is what I'm supposed to do. I know what it is, like how I'm supposed to just get these certain messages out, and then that be it. Um, the big thing that I've been wanting to speak on, or what was calling me to talk about, has a lot to do with, you hear this. There's so much emphasis on, people talking about relationships, and the importance of your relationship with yourself. That's vital. A lot of things are coming back into balance where we're recognizing how vital the relationship with ourselves first is before anything else. If you don't know, if you haven't been following me, um, I speak a lot about things um, that as I get to learn more of myself, I've seen the importance of emotional intelligence. I see the importance of how the the wounded masculinity, the wounded masculine that has been displayed, the actions in the masculine way that has been displayed by both ourselves, our mothers and fathers for generations and ancestrally and so forth, and seeing that displayed in the matriarchal and patriarchal. And the very things I speak about is from the inside out, not the outside in. Most of the world has been so geared towards the focus on the outside rather than the inside, their world and their peace being the vocal point, being the priority, rather than trying to find that validation or reassurance or even peace in something external. And the beauty of this is how much I've gained emotional safety and security. And the reason, like, what I'm going to speak on is so vital because I want to relay this message to a lot of the youth, and along with adults who still are, who have been so far away from their youth to where their inner child now is calling out in various ways, in so many ways to where they're not even aware that um, a A lot of the things they try to escape through, whether substance abuse, whether career, and so forth, has a lot to do with them evading or avoiding or even acknowledging their inner child, the essence of who they are. You know, the things that brings them the pleasure, the joy, the peace, the harmony. You know, simple things that gears them towards their imagination, their intuition. Most importantly, like for our young women and you know, women today, I see a highlight in that so much so to where they have been driven so far away from their inside of who they are, and you know, the reason I say that is because a lot of our heightened awareness, we're so, we're so, I want not the word vulnerable, but we're so, well, yeah, I can say vulnerable to spirit or have so much of a connection to the divine when we arrive here as children that there's a reason the powers that ain't or used to be attacked and preyed on our childhood wounds purposefully, so that now we all are like little children running rampant, throwing temper tantrums, what you call it, misbehaving, acting out, or even just displaying certain behaviors from a place of either a void or a false perception of who they are, or gain a false identity around who they're supposed to be. And that's all you see throughout humanity. So now getting into the relationship base or even just the foundations of that. Um, I love this is because um oh yeah, let me finish that message off. My messages are geared towards bringing everyone back home to self. And through that it's very uncomfortable because whatever you have developed from childhood, whatever your experience may be, whatever your perception on life, your perception of other people, no matter who you are fruit, or they call offspring, or even extension, as like a branch. You branch off from your mother and father. You are an extension of them. So that being said, whether your mother and father still were there, you still develop, whether you have an absent father or not, you still develop a wound inside of you or something missing inside of you that was part of your childhood development, um, that should have been part of your childhood development, but still played a part in your childhood evolution and development into adulthood, into teenage, you know, all these different phases of life. And that, depending on who you are, from my own experience, that can develop an abandonment wound that you probably were unaware of or unconsciously develop this. And through that development and unfolding, you built foundations upon relationships based off that. When you said the base of something, that means the root of it or the foundation of that. And you know, this isn't talked about as much, but at the same time, I'm here to remind you again, this is why some of us have developed certain trauma bonds or even relationships with people who have, who some of us are coming to the realization, or most of the world coming to the realization, that there is no substance, there's no longevity, and a lot of shit that you see was built upon sand. Sand meaning that there is not a sturdy or solid foundation. Um, so with that being said, oh yeah, I might well say that because I was getting a visual of that. When you build something upon sand, sand is still a part of like a rock settlement. But when you build something upon rock, stone, or certain things, water can actually still run through those things, but you have a better sense of stability or longevity when it comes to the fact of building on something authentic, honest, with integrity. This isn't something that's prioritized because the veil has been pulled over our eyes, or now that it's been lifted, we're able to see so much of ourselves, and the world is able to see their own reflection collectively. And so now there is no more running, you know, and it will be made very apparent who is running from themselves, who is running from the reality or actuality of their said karma, their said experiences or lessons that everyone came here to learn. So as I was walking with my son the other day, this came to me. I was like, yo, I want y'all to really, especially, I love speaking to my matriarch, the mothers, the women, the young women. I want to ask y'all this. And I want y'all to put yourself in a position or a place of a mother, but also a woman. You know, however you're going to receive and perceive this. And I want y'all to really make this make sense when it comes to even, because I'm gonna flip it. It's gonna be from a man and a man being a father and a mother being a woman, in the sense of like how vital and how important this is that has been passed through generations and through lineages for what belief systems that y'all unconsciously and still consciously live through and live on and literally pass on until you realize it. Now, when we looking at, I'm gonna give you both the polarity of like a wounded mother or a false mother, and that of what the world is ushering in now is a divine mother, meaning that you will see women who who have or have been through things where they're realizing how unhealthy and unrealistic. Because I'm gonna show y'all the unrealistic bullshit about a lot of stuff that is such an illusion, is such ignorance that it's like it really hit me. I was like, wow, whoa, this is amazing. So let me start off with the, the young men, the men, no matter your age. I'm gonna ask you this, and I want women, I want y'all to really ponder on this now. So young men, I asked myself this. It came to me. I was like, I was walking with my son. I was like, what was the first thing my mother gave me? What was the first thing your mother offered you? Now, before you arrived here, you as a spirit or soul, or just before you were incarnated, right? When you was in your mother's belly, this is how important, like, you're talking about your cellular structure and just your emotional resonance and how you came to be and who you're becoming now. For a lot of you, not only what your mother fed you in the womb, but also what was she being fed, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically. That being said, can a lot of you say your mother offer you the nourishment? Did she offer you even healthy things when you were in the womb? Now, to my women who are spouses, who are partners, who are whatever you want to call yourself, like the wife, whatever, okay. This, every woman holds a motherly energy. Every woman holds the energy of a mother. The transitions through life where the mother, this is what a lot of you don't even realize, the importance even of marriage. I don't know what in other cultures and so forth, but before I dive into that, it's the significance even of the mother giving the son to the woman. You always see the father give the daughter, but why isn't the mother offering the son to the daughter? And the reason like this is so vital spiritually is because I've said before, matriarchally, no one has came here first without coming through the womb. So therefore, when you have this imbalance or this disposition of the mother not knowing her role or women not knowing their role, because the first teacher, the first person, your spouse as a man, as a son that would grow into a father, his first teacher is his mother. And see, when there is no accountability for the women now present who have been so wounded due to their father wounds, because a lot of their first teachers not only was a mother, but a lot of their reassurance, their self-identity, their self-esteem, their reassurance or acceptance or just validation in a sense through the identity from the father that they're wanting or they did not receive. This is why you see a pattern of them smothering their sons. So that father wound doesn't allow them to not only nurture their sons, but it creates a dysfunction and a pattern to where That son believes in his eye, because little boys, men are visual. He's seeing how his mother treats other men. He's seeing, he's soaking it up. Wow, that was a bus that passed by, said destined paths. And they had little kids with a hand. That's beautiful. Destined paths, I say. Um, so again, the importance of that child seeing how women treat men, the man and men that he's gonna not only be influenced by, but the idea of how he should be even treated by women. Now I say this shit with grace because a lot of us, some people wounding is so deep, and the divine was giving me clarity on how like some of your mothers and fathers transition are going to be very beneficial or very transformative for your own healing journey, because a lot of things that will be triggered or come up won't come up won't come up until that transition, if that makes sense. Meaning that for some of you that have been longing for that connection, that have been trauma bonding, some of you won't come to that clarity and realization until they actually transition to where you realize like, oh my gosh, this has been a trauma bond all my life. I don't care if you're 30, 40, 50, 60. And then that void, you'll realize you have to not only that, not even the void that you thought you can feel, you realize that it was a version of you that only you can recognize and only you can love yourself through. And then you'll come to the awareness that they wasn't able to do that. So let me get back to this. Now you're in going back to how women, a lot of your spouses and men, as I said before, women are ruled by this Venus complex. Very simple. We're all a very simple. Simple. Let me break this down. Women ruled by Venus. First thing is, there's three different things that y'all value the most. I don't who you are. It's very simple. I see it play out through my daughter all the time. The honesty, for one. Honesty. Honesty is one of the most highest. When you talk about being honest and authentic, that is one of the highest frequency, because honesty is so connected to your intuition, because instead of listening to the external, instead of listening to someone else, you listen to your intuition. So you build upon your foundation first with honesty before you try to go build lies with someone else. So this is so beautiful because, for one, depending on how a lot of you young women, the mothering that you had, whether there was an abandonment issue there, a lot of you develop naturally abandoning that intuition within you. When that abandonment happened, you emotionally abandon yourself. And your emotions are a part of who and how you evolve, and throughout life as a little girl into womanhood. Your emotional safety, and that goes for men too. Your emotional safety is the foundation of everything. That's why the false perception, I'm gonna get into this, of even women buying into that money is a security, and not realizing money itself is an energy. And most people who have a concept on money in this modern day age is so much of a lack rather than an abundant mindset, a prosperous mindset, because that money ruled by moon, monetary, all these things have connections to it, was never intended for it just to be in certain people's hands. Because when you look at the abundance, and when you look at currency, when you look at water, there's an abundance of it. So everyone should hear in the feminine principle, because when you talk about currency, it's a feminine principle. So when you're talking about currency, maritime law, all these other shit, all of those things are connected to the feminine principle. Where when you talk about the flow of money, the currency, the bank, like a river bank, this will go over a lot of people's head. We talking about ocean current. All this shit has spiritual significance, elemental significance before it is right here overly saturated as it has been in the physical. There's an abundance of shit. So again, when you have a lot of women in their root chakra, sacral chakra, and so forth, all these different places that have been blocked in these areas, they have been focused more on the external false empowerment of handouts from corporations and business who only want to give them certain things rather than them relying on their intuition and their inner guidance and even their own abundant nature. Did you hear what I'm saying? Whatever you give a woman, she shall multiply. So what has these corporations and people been giving? They've been giving you half-ass shit. They've been giving you lies. They've been giving you this. They've been giving you that. And again, going back to women who had an abandoned wound with their mother, most importantly, your perception on life, your perception on yourself, your image of women and how you connect with women is going to be distorted. It's going to be from a wounded place. So mostly what you will see how certain women and demographics in certain places, their interactions with women aren't healthy because they don't see a healthy version of themselves within. They don't even hold a healthy image of a mother or a matriarchal figure that they even know. So this was where grace comes in. So how is that connected to a lot of your spouses and your husbands and so forth with their misconception of being empowered, with their woundedness and being led so much by a wounded ego or false perception of what a man's supposed to be? Goes back to what you enable as a woman. Where am I getting at? What is the first thing that a mother offers her son? If there is a mother there present, she's offering him nurturing, a place that is supposed to be emotionally safe. All those feminine things. His mother is the safe place first. Let me say that again. The mother, the matriarchal, has always been the safe place. Now, when you look at this distorted patriarchal system, if our women aren't in a place of their femininity where it's healthy, who do we run to as men? It's natural for us to go out into the world and try to find this identity or develop this evolution of self and return home. Because mama is our first home. So you as women, you are the home. Once that man transitions from his mother and then aligns with his spouse and connects with her, whatever that partner or wife is, you are that man's home. Not only he has a home within himself, but you represent a emotional home, a safety home, emotional, like you are his emotional safety, in a sense, spiritually, not just physically, but spiritually. This is why a lot of women, again, when I say, what is the first thing the mother offers the son? So a lot of your spouses, you don't even realize, a lot of you, when you see a lot of these men out here, their disconnect to why they don't have a sense of compassion and empathy for women has nothing to do with you, love. And I'm not saying all relationships are perfect, because some women, again, it even reflects their relationship with their mother and their father. But going back to a lot of men here present, their disconnect, their no awareness with empathy or even having this connection to their femininity. They don't even know the importance of emotional intelligence. This is exactly why they have no empathy for not only their inner child, because once you see that little boy has a natural connection to his mother. So a lot of your relationships that are displayed is a representation and a reflection so much of the woundedness that he experienced, but also what his mother either offered him or did not offer him. So her first offering to him, what could have been abandonment. So his relationship to you, that reflection of that, the polarity of that, could be codependency, where he never grows up. It's like a man child. He never grows out of, or evolve past being a child mentally, emotionally. And you see that physically displayed in a lot of men's careers, and a lot of their statuses, and a lot of even whatever they go into. You see them, they don't develop, they don't evolve, they don't expand their consciousness, they don't expand their awareness. It's almost like they're blocked. And this is what you see demographically. A lot of those boys that display those behaviors, those young men, is because they not only don't respect themselves, but they don't have a fucking respect for the feminine principle that will always come back around, because what goes around comes back around. That starts with the feminine, and then comes back branches into, or it connects to the masculine, the yin and yang aspect. Starts from the darkness, comes to the light, and comes right back to what? The fucking darkness. It comes right back to the light. The spiral, the yin and the yang. What's done in the dark comes to the light. Where are you birthed from? The dark. In the womb, as the light. So whatever happened in your mother's womb, whatever even happened with a lot of you, some of you don't even realize that you carry that shit as women and men. And you brought it, incarnated it right here, and you illuminated to your mother and father. You illuminated the very thing in the dark, what they did, while either they were in the womb or while your mother and father were together. And there was an elder that said, whatever that child went through in the womb, that mother and father shall reap. And I'm living proof of that. I'm living fucking proof to where I seen, especially what I went through with my partner, certain things I went through, even when I wasn't aware and unconscious of my pattern, to where now I realize, like, it's certain things my daughter displays, there's certain things my son displays, even young, to where I'm like, wow, it's still a beautiful polarity, because I can see how sometimes where, I mean, how can I express this? It's like, I said before, how my daughter mirrors back so much of what I did not, the emotional safety that I did not get from my mother. Even though she's a little girl, but she still mirrors back the emotions, how emotionally unstable my mother was, how emotionally unsafe she was. So that is very uncomfortable for me to try to not, like, organically, and like try to it's basically like a mirror effect, to where it's teaching me to her emotion express so much, because this is what all little girls do, and women, their emotions express so much, to where men that are in tune or learn to be in tune realize, like, you can't control it, and you shouldn't, because feminine energy is always changing. And so with me, what it mirrors back to me is that it shatters the illusion of me trying to control it. And that's what you would see displayed in where either a wounded woman or a man try to shut it down. Like, stop crying, stop doing this, stop doing that. And in reality, it's like you're telling them, teaching them to repress the emotion, to repress the memory in the body that stores it. You know what I'm saying? So this is what happened over time. So again, ask yourself, when it comes, well, before I get to that, let me finish off with my daughter. That's the thing where I realized that she's like that moon aspect that reflects all those things that are uncomfortable, that I cannot hide, that I cannot shelter. And I have to breathe through that shit. That has been a progress. Now my son, the difference between him, what he mirrors back, because my daughter is more of the mother wound evolving into the develop of me being whole from the internal aspect, the feminine aspect. And she still carries the masculine energy because how she displays her femininity. And kids, like with my son, what he mirrors back to me is so much of the father wound that I'm acknowledging. They both mirror back things to show the wholeness, if that makes sense. Because that's what we're returning to as men, is the wholeness. A lot of y'all are in connections or dealing with men who are one-sided, who are either hyper feminine in a way to where they're displaying hypersensitivity, is because they never had an emotional with their mother. They never had something that was emotionally safe, or she never cared to express things or give him or offer to him that emotional safety. And so with that, that's why you see the impulsivity or the the imbalance or the no integrity when it comes or self-respect when it comes to self or even women in itself, little girls or even the feminine principle because of that. And so with that, this is where you see them display such things because they were never given it. You're asking of people or men these days to give you something that their mother never offered them. And um, so with that, it's going back to my son. Like what he mirrors back to me is when I see him smile and see the joys and see all these things. It also highlights the fact of what I did not receive young. And coming from the patriarchal aspect, the father aspect, that wound allows me to become whole within myself, like in a holistic way. To instead of seeing things, I have to see the wounded aspect to where it began, to be able to see the distorted way, to be able to see how now organically or whole I am because of that balance. And so now my son, when I see him smile, when I see him do these things, it's even things where I've noticed like even when certain things happen with him that there's a natural and it's wild. I'm telling y'all, this is a gem for a lot of women. If you ever see, it's almost like I'm gonna use the term favorism or favoritism. If you ever see how certain men that will be so pride or so praiseful or so if that's a word or so excited to have a son, sometimes there's an underlining or inner conflict or a reason behind that. Most men probably are afraid to receive a daughter because that people don't want to see the lesson. They see it more of a curse than see it as a lesson because they don't realize that their daughter can teach them so much of their emotional intelligence and highlight their emotional wounds. There's your gem. They want the sons because again, men are more visual, they're logical. So naturally, if they can try to in a way make them out, if they had unfulfilled things, depending on their woundedness or depending on their things that they have imbalance within, they will unconsciously try to make that son into everything that they are. You see this a lot with men who did not fulfill their dreams or even are in sports and entertainment. They will want their sons to even dress like them, be like them. And I'm not saying like to each their own. And I'm not saying people have to I'm just able to see a pattern. I'm able to see a pattern behind that. How they're so some of them are so distant or they are not as connected as they should be with their kids. And this is why I highlight the fact of how kids are so vital, no matter if you are a biological parent or whatever, or guardian. It's so vital because kids will highlight so much of who you are and who you're actually supposed to be. This is why I even notice, even through a lot of my own internal conflict, how so many kids can be drawn to me. And even through I'm able to see almost like the distorted way of how they have been brought up, even how they talk. Like I'll go play basketball and I hear how some kids be cussing or just saying words and shit. I ain't gonna say cursing, but just saying things, and I just be like, whoa, no judgment, but I can automatically know what type of home environment. I can automatically see how certain violent or aggressive behavior, impulsiveness, and so forth. I can even see like some of us have this natural eye, how little girls dress, how they come out, and people don't assume that it's common sense to see how that naturally reflects the mother and father, whether they're there or not. And so that's why you see the identity crisis around a lot of young girls and young men who we don't realize that a lot of some of the mothers and fathers, not to say that they don't do their best, but a lot of these kids that aren't loved in a genuine way, that aren't supported in such a healthy way, it's so obvious that they will grow into um, and have these distorted masculinity and feminine principles. You know, no real authentic identity around being honest with themselves first. So that's what I'm gonna get into. Is where again, going back to the men before I get into the women, when you're talking about what did his mother, I want you to like ask yourself this, what did his mother offer him young? And when you look at a lot of demographics in a lot of places, when I say offer, you have a lot of women who talk to their sons as if they're less, that they're not valuable. You know, they talk to them like as if not. When you talk to a child like they're a burden and they're not significant, then you're basically saying that why you even come here? You don't even belong here. That's what unconsciously they're like projecting onto them. And a lot of that is through pain and hurt and through frustration. They're tired. They don't have time to rest, so they don't have no one else to basically intervene or basically have a therapy session with. So a lot of that shit happens first with the children. So again, this is gonna be a good one. If the first thing a mother is supposed to offer a son is nurturing, the importance of emotional stability, security, and safety, why do you women think that the first thing a man is supposed to offer you is something financial? I want y'all to ponder on it. That's not even natural for men to even do that. And this is where the false empowerment, the false perception of what this fucking patriarchal is. If what you give a woman, she expands, why is the first thing, or the first thing with women who don't realize their distortion, why is your focus even on money in the first place? When you are ruled by honesty, attention, and pleasures. So imagine if your belief systems were the first thing I ask of him, or or have some type of standard on, is honesty. Imagine that. And before you say a lot of these, well, they lie so much, you lie to yourself all the time. I'm gonna hold everybody accountable here. You lie to yourself. You create identities around not even living in your truth. You lie to yourself every day of how you go about life. You've had to lie. Let's get that right. A lot of our ancestors, grandmothers, they had to lie for protection and survival. So what cycle are you willing to change and break? Mirror, mirror, that's all I am, messenger. So you're asking this man, when you say, well, I can't make him be honest. Well, have you asked yourself this? Knowingly, now that you know when you receive this message, that man, you know by his display of behavior, to even expect him to even keep giving you honesty when you know that he don't even have an honest relationship with himself. So most likely he has never had an honest relationship stemming back to his childhood from his mother. His mother wasn't honest with him. Probably about who his father was. His mama probably wasn't honest about a lot of things. So before we actually progress, before we actually acknowledge some type of healing, before we actually expand and move forward, if you are ruled by honesty, attention, and pleasure, and you lie to yourself, because let me go ahead and mix this in. If men are Mars and they're ruled by sex, admiration, and respect, let's go ahead and let's put this together right quick. Now, when men and women come together, right? For one, a lot of those men didn't get honest relationships. They didn't have mothers talk to them about the importance of sex if they're ruled by it, right? Because when we grow up, we are going to learn about ourselves. So why should a father tell him about that? A mother should still implement the importance of son. I actually had a woman come up to me years ago and tell me, "You are very powerful and special. You should not, connect with just any woman. But what you have down there, because you can create life, and there's power in that. It's significance." Now, for a woman to tell me that hit different. So why shouldn't our mothers, which you see a lot of women now who don't have any honest relationships when it comes to sex. So therefore, this is where you see the pattern of them laying down with men that are not even in alignment with them. It happens. We've been there. We all been there. Or even they've had men or patriarchal figures who have robbed them or like took something sacred from them when it comes to even that place. Therefore, they built a false identity through prostitution, through the distorted way of what a woman and a mother should be. And this is why you see that karmic loop of women who have multiple fathers by men. And no one's going to tell them, but I will, is that I cannot judge you, baby. But you still can heal. You still can acknowledge. You still can take accountability, because those kids are still unique, special, and divine in their own birthright. But they still hold whatever you have unresolved. They still have repressed emotions and memories that you still hold on. And the reason I say this is because that cycle in itself, people don't realize, once you co-create with a whole nother person, you energetically are creating karma, because they are another lineage. That other man is a whole nother lineage, and whatever comes, vices and spiritual warfare comes with him, also is the same with that other man. It's not the same experience. They have different perspectives, different outlooks on life, and so forth. And both of those men, or either men and or women, this goes for both people. You're not realizing that from those men and women, or whomever you had children by, they had a mother and father. Then their father, that mother and father had a mother and father. Do you see generationally, ancestrally, the shit that y'all don't even realize genetically and DNA, that still why this child has a different perspective? And I'm telling you from experience, my sisters and me have different, we have the same mother, but we have different fathers. So yes, we all probably going to have different attributes of genetic makeup that look like our mother, because the mother has, you're going to, well, scientific, you're going to have most of your genetic makeup from your mother. So that right there tells you, like, fucking spiritually, who the power first comes from, and then through us as young boys and men and women. If the DNA, if most of what we're made of is from mama. So with that, when you do have different siblings, again, my vices, or my spiritual warfare is not going to look the same as if I had another brother or sister, or because their father is not the same. So again, this is not judgment, just to bring awareness to where you're seeing these cycles of trauma in this loop of women who are battling with abandonment wounds, who are battling with sexual sexual spirits, or things where they have repressed memories and emotions through sexual traumas, molestation. I can go on and on. And they're not even aware or conscious of why they make these patterns. So going back to the matriarchal, again, women, you ask yourself, have you even asked your partner, what was the first relationship, and how was the first relationship with their mother? What did their mother offer them? And when you're talking about belief systems, I can look demographically and see how, someone I know, how they give their son material things. And she's a mother, they give them so much of material things. It's like some of their father wounds will be displayed through their actions to give so much of their sons, how can I say this? Through the wounded masculinity, they give so much of their sons, because some of them, it's like the distorted way of trying to be a mother, it's also trying to fit in the role of being a father. So they have to naturally play the role of the mother and the father. You know how fucking exhausting a lot of these women are? To take on this narrative and this identity of a single mother. And then not only that, you're talking about being in communities and spaces where they're not even communities or villages anymore, where women actually supported each other. There was a sisterhood around that, where other kids did not go hungry. That mother door was open. These are elders used to tell me stories about this shit. The door was open. When someone didn't come home, mothers used to come. Kids, when their kids wasn't there, they used to come. Now you got kids wandering the street. Now you got homelessness. You got all this shit. All these structures that have been put in place to purposely exhaust these mothers even more, to keep them from facing themselves. So again, you mothers today are a representation no differently. I don't care how much money, what career you do, you still are a representation of the generations before. Only thing that has changed is the fucking clothes, the group settings, the careers, and so forth. It's just dressed up different. It's just another dressed up lie that y'all keep running from, to keep from acknowledging yourself. Yeah, you go out there, burn yourself out, and still never hold space, because you don't want that illusion. You don't want the world that you built to crumble. You don't want that shit to crumble. You don't want that to be that what you built and your grandmother and all that to crumble. And I get it, because you don't even realize how much of that survival mentality is rooted in your belief systems. And that's one of y'all greatest fears and subconscious fears. Some of you will fight tooth and nail to actually come home to yourself before you make peace with yourself and that man who you normally deserves to be there. I'm not saying all situations are the same, but a lot of things that men cannot run from no more has a lot to do with the fact of a lot of these men and systems that have been put in place to imprison them. This is so deep right here. When I wrote down the false perception of attention and pleasure and honesty, if women are rude, it's ridiculous. If women are rude, I can only imagine his nervous system playing that loud fucking music. If women are ruled by, again, attention, honesty, and pleasure, y'all don't know what that is in a healthy, holistic fucking way. Y'all don't. Nothing will change until you be honest with you first and say, I don't. I'm not even a woman, but a lot of you cannot say, this is where it starts. You don't know how to be a mother. You don't know. You're a mother, but you don't know how to be a healthy mother. And that's okay. It starts with being honest. You don't know how. And some of you are so frustrated to where you are coming to that realization like, fuck, I'm really been acting out a pattern of my mom and grandmother in a distorted way. They're single and they haven't been single, or nothing has been successful. Their relationship has been successful, and you're wondering why yours isn't. Yeah, the generation may have changed. Like I say, you can change clothes. You can dress it up as much as you want to, with your makeup, with your hairs, with whatever it is, with your careers, with your status. But your inside world is still hoarding the repressed memories and emotions from your mother and in that relationship with her and your grandmother and so forth. Some relationships you never even had. Some things you never developed that affected your childhood development and now affected your relationships currently. So again, how that can look, if going back to my men, y'all don't even realize what, like I had to learn this through partnership. You know, when I realized like some women didn't even have their father, whether he could have transitioned, been in prison, never had a healthy relationship with their father. And I asked myself, well, what did their father offer them? And once you realize that that is the current belief system of a lot of women, and you will see that through the distortion of the patriarchal right now. That's why they don't even have a true identity about themselves, because it's so distorted. That's why men rule by sex, respect, and admiration. The distorted way the distorted mother literally enabled the distorted father, which are the men you see today and young men. Meaning that this, had I not went in tune and acknowledged myself and faced myself, how the fuck would I ever known to know how to actually have self-respect and admiration, appreciation for myself, and then know the importance of how sex is displayed. Okay, the distorted way of that is through the addiction and substance abuse, certain things where the disrespect that I, you know, when I was innocent and developed through childhood development through my mother and the women I was around who did not have respect for men, who did not have admiration for them, did not show no type of appreciation, and then systematically, then societally, economically, and so forth. So all of that played a major role in what I needed to sit down and see and acknowledge within myself. So how could I ask of this in a modern day society from where I know that most of society and most of women, whether they want to take accountability or be honest with themselves first, because they're ruled by honesty, and then attention, and then also, attention, honesty, and the pleasures, I realize that most of them don't have that connection. So when I see the social media, when I see celebrities, I don't give a fuck who it is. When I look at it in a holistic way, from where I had to uncover within myself and what truly the feminine represents, I had to see the distorted way to actually recognize the healthy and the holistic way within myself, to be able to recognize that, to see the polarity in the women who are wounded, who are distorted in their masculinity and femininity, so I know how to progress not only myself, so that my son don't experience that, so that I can able to talk to young men, so that they realize that they can have a divine masculine or healthy outlet to realize, like, you are already whole. It's just the fact of what you were given and the part of your father or mother not being there, whether man or woman, you that part of you don't feel like you're whole simply because of that. So that's why you get in half-ass relationships or situationships. That's why you show up half. That's why a lot of your marriages is focused on being half of something. That's my other half. And you don't even see yourself whole as a representation of the feminine and masculine principles. So again, I cracked the code on that shit of seeing this shit in the world, like how the systems and certain things were run purposely, so that especially young men don't realize, like, you're already whole. Just like women, you're already whole. You're already whole. So I'm saying, like, oh my gosh. Now I can see why certain women, through their distortion, or even how, again, we give them this false attention that we never given ourselves, that we never received when we were young. We're giving these women this. We've created a false identity around what a man that doesn't have integrity, that doesn't have morals or principles, that doesn't see the value even in sex, that doesn't see the value in self-respect, that doesn't see the value in admiration. Guess what? That's what you have in your music. That's what you have in generations. That's why you naturally see people and women who don't respect themselves, who are not honest with themselves, so they don't respect men, so they don't respect their son. That shit reflects a father wound. So here we are asking of the women in modern day who don't be honest with themselves, who sit beside certain pastors and bishops, who don't be honest with themselves, who sit beside politicians, who sit beside these men who are falsely empowered, who women who don't take accountability, who don't listen to their intuition, who haven't listened to their intuition for the last fucking 100 years, who don't have a connection to the spiritual aspect of who they are, who has been enabling this very patriarchal you see today. And that comes from not being honest with themselves. So, and then where their attention goes, their attention grows. So their attention is more focused on the distorted way of a man or the distorted way of a woman. The wound, their attention is more focused on the wound and the distortion. So that's the world that they create, not only within them, but around them. So that's why they project. That's why they give this and treat men that way. Yes, you. You didn't know, but that's why your mama treated men that way. Because her world was never at peace because of her unresolved emotions and memories. that she had dealt with, whether with men or women, with her father or mother, or generationally passing through to her, that she never had a chance to sit down with. That's your grandmothers and grandma and great grandma and them. They were exhausted. They never had an opportunity to sit down with that shit. So here you are, replaying the whole fucking cycle. Same thing with men. They doing the same shit. Same shit. I realized my life was divine intervention to be able to create this shit because I was set down purposefully. Set down, even the uncomfortability where, again, people, places, and stuff tell me, I'm supposed to do this, I'm supposed to do this. You don't know me. You don't know my calling, my purpose. You have no idea who I am. You don't have the courage to do this shit. When it's uncomfortable, when you have to make everyone around you uncomfortable because you stand in your truth and be authentic. What? You don't know. How many of you? It's very few of you. You're not willing to make yourself to sit in that uncomfortability until you make peace with that shit. Because when you do that, it makes everything around you change and ripple. You have a ripple effect once you sit still. A tree ain't ever had to explain itself. It expresses, but it didn't ever have to explain how many leaves, why the flowers blossom the way it does, why its branches are the way it is. So explain it, I won't do that. Expressing, yes, it's a part of who I am. So again, going back to the women and my men, think about this. Y'all don't even know the depths of to where it'll tell you right now that through her actions, you know, a lot of these women never had healthy relationships with their father. And then they never were given or offered a healthy, authoritative aspect. So when you talk about our first, ooh, this is good. The mother is the first representation of emotional safety. Okay, the father is the first representation of authority and protection. And now it's almost like a shield or the vision of how that little girl is supposed to like have an image of men or young boys in her life, that, you know what I'm saying, it's like an image of the masculine aspect being displayed, you know, even though those men still reflect the feminine. It's all a connection there. It's all mirroring back the same. That's why I was telling someone who was a therapist, shout out to her, especially to her, like, you know, a lot of our connections we get in, you know, this person may be more feminine as a man, not that he still have masculine, you know, approach or principles or energy, and this woman still may have more of a masculine depending on her upbringing and childhood development. So sometimes we are meant to get in relationships where it seems like you clash, but it's almost like energy just clashing together. Things that either mix, they come together, they are aligned, or they just simply showing you, mirroring back to you, whether said things that is here to for you to grow, expand, evolve, or literally to run away from. And I'm gonna tell you from experience, that's exactly what happened with a lot of my experiences. You'll hear people talk about, or certain people I know that talk about how the energy shows up in other people. Yes. Imagine that your mother and father went to this person. You know, some of us had that, you know, that stage where we were going around doing all this, doing all that. And imagine doing all that, right? Imagine doing all that. Wow, I just saw, I think this got to be a grandma. She just took like five boys. She got five boys in the car. That's why I love women, bro. I'm telling you, I don't know how y'all do it sometimes. But, but again, imagine, well, some of y'all don't realize certain connections where you was like, man, I went through so much with this person. Man, I went through some of the, man, and ask yourself, did it show you more of you? Or are you still focused on how they mirror back to you? Um, can you ever see the lesson, or are you so focused on what you could have learned from it? Or are you still attached to the idea of what it could have been? And I feel like this is what happened with a lot of our mothers and fathers or people in relationships, where they're not able to see the lesson. They're not able to see themselves. They're not able to evolve past what is being shown. To be able to see the lesson, to be able to see, you know, is a part of why I met this person is for me to learn that where my instabilities were, or where I need to gain this lesson, you know, and that comes from a spiritual and physical place because they both are hand in hand. Is this person teaching me why I didn't feel emotionally safe? Or by me having kids by this person, is this showing me, you know, how did I birth this child? Did it come from, when I met this person, did it come from a place of woundedness or trauma? Okay, now that this child is here, am I able to see the lesson? Or am I going to relive out that pain that I experienced with that partner through my child? So that that child keeps it going and relives it through his partner. That's how deep this shit is. So for a lot of us, when I look at society, when I look at what the woman and the matriarchal represents, I have to see the fact of there is nothing when it comes to all women of nationalities and creeds and cultures. There are women that I know who are doing exactly what they're supposed to do. Shout out to them. But when I look at the collective image of what a woman represents in this country present day, it is not nothing that reflects something that is empowering, that is nurturing, that is supportive, that is I can run to feel embraced, because even with that, I have to see the present day reality of as a man, to where, man, when I'm going through something, can I run to this sister? Can I go to this person? Can I go to this? And see, this is what the reason I'm bringing this to you is because it's to show you how disconnected we have been from ourselves to even know what a healthy father and mother look like. To even, some of us ain't even have a consistent or persistent healthy relationship with ourselves first, with our inner child, to even know the idea of how we're supposed to protect ourselves from the very people who are emotionally unsafe, from the very people who are spiritually unsafe, from the very people who are physically unsafe. And that's from experience, from having put myself through it and put other people through it. So again, when we ask ourselves, what have we been given as society? What have we been given from childhood? When you talk about even religiously and so forth, when women haven't been offered, they've been offered by men, like the distorted way of what a false father is. Yeah, women, y'all been given so much religion, so much to where you don't even know who you are spiritually. Where a lot of those things that were orchestrated was simply to keep you in this illusion and spell, to keep you from knowing your power as a woman, as the matriarchal, as the spiritual connection and portal from the divine, from source to this fucking world. Because those very men that came in here and their distortion and their unresolved traumas and their woundedness and so forth are still reenacting it. Before they even encourage their sons and daughters to be their authentic selves, to be what Source called them to be, they will try to manipulate and try to distort their way of being, to make them and shape them into something that they feel they should be. And this is why people don't have no compassion or empathy for the kids now, because they've been trying to shape and mold them. And that's why you see so many human beings and people walking around with false identities. They dress themselves up in so much attire. They dress themselves up in so many things and have no fucking idea who they are, because the little boy and the little girl in them is still sheltered away, still locked away, because mom and daddy told them to. Because mom and daddy put them there, or their repressed memories and emotions is still in that little boy and girl that's inside of them. So again, when we look at the fact of you're asking the men to be honest again, where women are ruled by Venus, love, honesty, you're wanting them to love you, but again, what did their mother offer them? Some of these mothers never even offered them a genuine love. They never gave these men honesty. So this is why you see a lot of men now, when you have this stigma around mental health awareness, when I'm doing a presentation now where we're talking about the earliest unaliving rate, or the word suicide, is as early as 10, is because you ask yourself, and I tell y'all that the stigma around even a man shit having to express his emotions is a sign of weakness is fucking utterly diabolical and ridiculous. Because how do we express our emotions early when we not even verbally um can even speak language to our mother? That's why the mother is the first emotional safety. So when we have women that are disconnected from that, you have men and young men who don't know who to come home to. When you have women who have abandoned themselves through their father wounds and through their mother wounds, and then they abandon their kids through social media, through other outlets, through money, through substance abuse, you have generations that you see presently that have no one to come home to. You have these young men that will still grow up and they're trying to find a safety net, or they're trying to find emotional security in somebody, in someone, in the women that they date, in their marriages, in their spouse. And then I've learned even through my experience where I realized a lot of the women wasn't emotionally safe for me. And as I learned this, I realized, like, through the connection of even the distorted mother or the false empowerment of what the mother represents, I realized, like, coming home to myself was coming home to those very things, realizing that I did not have the mother that was emotionally safe for me. So therefore, those are relationships that I encountered, or whether unconsciously, because all relationships, um, I realized that um, did not, you know, I felt like I could protect myself physically, but this is why you see a lot of men stay in certain things or extend their stay, because they don't know nothing else. So we haven't had a consistent representation of what even a healthy mother is in society, in communities, or even in the homes. So when we see this shit physically, it's still a reflection of what is going on within our women and men spiritually. So again, I'm here to remind y'all that no matter what someone physically looks like, you still have to come home to yourself. I don't care how you want to display yourself. You know, I don't care how much you want to portray yourself as if like you want to be more masculine than a man. I don't care how women want to portray themselves, or men that want to portray themselves as being more feminine than a woman. Listen, a lot of people unconsciously, and like, people came here to be who they want to be. But what I'm getting at is the wound. Either way, you still got to come home to yourself. You still got to come home to yourself, to why even you even display certain, you know, behaviors. A lot of it, for a lot of people, is rooted in sexual abuse or sexual molestation or something. And so a lot of what they think is safe, they've created a false identity around it. It's just no different. Just to be a part of groups, just to be in a setting, to feel safe. And a lot of women and men, especially I see a lot of women who do this, they still lie to themselves. They still create a false foundation. There still is an underlining or interlining or interconnection where that display of so much of a wounded masculinity, or even a distorted masculine, still reflects the distorted feminine within them. That's gonna be a whole nother subject. But again, a lot of women and men, I realize, like, when it comes to women, the attention that you're getting from this man is a false perception of what it actually reflects from from what you really know you deserve. That's all this is about. He can give you as much attention that you feel, but that attention can be coming from a wounded place of codependency. He can, he can, with what I see modern day, you know that he's not. He can give you. He can manipulate and lie so well that it can sound like it's honesty, but due to your disconnect from your intuition, and you not being discerning, you actually believe that he's being honest, and then you settle for that, continuously looping through foundations that are not, that are eventually still going to crumble. That's why the relationship will never be longevity, because deep inside of him, he's developed through programming or false empowerment of what a man, how a man, and nothing that stands on anything that deals with integrity and respect for self. So he's not gonna have respect for you. So therefore, due to his cultural upbringing, due to his experience, he's gonna lie purposefully because he feel like that's how he's supposed to get by. That's a part of what being a man is. That's a part of, so therefore, why would he give you honesty if he don't even know how to be honest with himself? So therefore, that's why his attention is so focused on sex, because you enable that. Because you don't realize that your way as a woman displaying your behavior in a distorted way has a lot to do with what? Because you don't know the value in seeing yourself not just sacred, but you're not honest with yourself. You're not even honest with your sexual traumas if you do have them. You're not honest with the fact of the peer pressure of you not wanting to give up that that part of yourself that is sacred, because that man will have a part of your essence and your inner world, your spiritual and emotional connection by just even connecting with you sexually, and therefore you misconceive, or the misconception of even or misperception of even how you relate to sex from a man is through trauma. So you connect that sex aspect to pleasure, which has nothing to do with the fact of, if that man doesn't know the value of who he is inside when it comes to even how he spills his semen or connect with this woman, realizing that when I do come together with her, then not only am I planting a seed, I'm planting a seed for the nations that will come after me. This is a woman that I'm entrusting with the children that should come here, that I that I have a responsibility to, and so forth. That if if I don't see value in that, then how would I see value in those kids? And that's why you see a lot of men through abandonment issues, because they abandon through their abandonment issues that's rooted in what they've experienced. Not only do they continue a cycle of abandoning themselves, they abandon their kids. And so again, you will see so many energies mirrored back through women and men. It all depends on their experience. It all depends on their childhood development. It all depends on their belief systems, whether religiously, spiritually, whether that man, the father, just offering her money. Imagine this, like, this is what I wanted to get to. I told y'all before, like, it when a mother is nurturing her son, whether she breastfeeds him, and depending on her experience, she ain't telling her son that, worried about the size of his staff down there, to say, well, this is how you get a woman. Come on now. Then for you women, or for you guys, her father, I mean, some actually do this in a distorted way, by telling their daughters, like, if he ain't got no money, then you shouldn't be with him. Y'all don't even see the fact of that a man offers more than just money. He is the emotional, support system as well. His identity is the integrity and morals and principles. And it's vital for a representation of a father to mirror back to his daughter, so that she knows how to choose a partner that is significant, that will progress her lineage, him and her lineage, that will prosper, that will be harmonious, that will live peacefully. It's like me telling my daughter, daughter, this is how you would get the right man, or a righteous man, or a man of integrity. I gotta be that first. She's watching me. That reassurance, when she say, Daddy, look, that's beautiful. That's affirmations. What is it? Admiration. Admiration. Certain things are, or it's like a mirror effect. When she said, baby, that's beautiful, that's amazing. And depending on my childhood development, depending on my belief system and upbringing, guess what? I can only give what I received, what I have. So a lot of us have to give ourselves grace, because we're asking of partners, or we asking of ourselves, we're trying to offer shit we never given ourselves. It's like a society expecting us to do certain shit we haven't given ourselves. It's like me never seeing a man who was structured and balanced to build certain things when I had to pioneer or even grow into this man that I never seen representation of. And so it's like the world or people or even your partner or people expecting you not even just fall, but to make said mistakes or even make things not do things always in a way of alignment or correct or do things perfectly, I should say. So again, it's like, what are you feeding your children very young? What are you giving them? And so we wasn't taught very young, depending on who we grew up, how to choose a partner, the significance of that. Dang, man. You talking about growing up in cultures where a lot of us had to raise ourselves, mother and father ourselves. So now here we are, don't connected with someone karmically or for the greater good of all, for the lesson, to realize like some of us like, whoa, is this even someone I see longevity with? Do they even respect themselves? Do I even respect myself? Do they even value what I value? Do they even have a same belief system? Or even other than that, can we compromise, or no, am I compromising my happiness? Or how could I say that? Yeah. Am I putting my dreams aside, or am I putting my things aside? Or even when I come together, do I see the bigger picture rather than just focus on my own ego or my own thing? Like, all of this shit is significant. It's very significant. It's very vital. Because it's like when I can see some women now, I know some personally as I reflect on through my own growth and value, I can see exactly what was offered to them young. And I have grace, but I wouldn't ever feel like I gotta turn back or go back to certain things because I see the growth. I'm like, whoa. I see why that was for my divine protection. Some of us don't even realize. For me, um, for some people, I say to be able to see the bigger picture, if you did have children by someone, is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Because once you start to recognize you more and grow and learn you more and master certain things about you more, you'll be able to see why that connection happened. You'll be able to see why that person even displays certain behaviors. You got grown ass men acting like children, or even in a sense, like they act in a way to where they never grow up beyond where they are. So their mindset is focused on just money because that's their belief system, or that's what was given to them societally, economically. That's what they believe a man should be. Same thing with women. It reflects the same thing due to whatever belief system that they were given young. He's basically saying this is how you get a man, this is how you get a woman, this is what partnership is, this is what marriage is. All of this we've been force fed, or we learn through something daily. Yep. Never really knowing that having a healthy relationship with self, developing a partnership with self, developing a healthy dialogue with self, knowing the importance of that. So give yourself grace. You didn't know. You knew to the depths, like you had a divine connection young, but you didn't know that a lot of things were seeing that very relationship young, how it would affect you into your adulthood. Give yourself grace. Because a lot of us have to start with being honest with ourselves. So how that looks for women is like your honesty with self will shape and mold your future relationships with other people. With men, our honest with ourselves, you know, helps guides us to be more emotionally intelligent. For women, it will naturally guide you not only be emotionally, have emotional more safety within yourself, but to lean more into your intuition. We're all mirroring back similar energies. It can look a certain way. We're just in a different body. That's it. So a lot of things I'm recognizing and connecting. I'm like, oh, I can see what her father gave her. So that's why her belief system is like that. That's why I see why she goes in relationships like that. It's the same thing with me. That's why I see why certain things where, again, if our women not being honest with themselves and not going and seeking support or really starting that, then how are y'all looking for us to be somewhere where we don't feel emotionally safe or even find a sense of peace? Because if you're not emotionally safe as women, which I encourage you to find that place within yourself, to connect with your inner child, to connect with yourself ancestrally and so forth, then there cannot be any balance between you and someone. There will always be something coming up, whether with you or that person. And for us to try to find some type of common ground, for some type of holistic aspect, until you see yourself whole, how are you going to be whole with someone else? They have their own world, they're whole. This is where a lot of patience comes in with love, because love in itself, through love, is you find, through love is also you finding the parts of yourself that you didn't even know you either had to love or was not loved. That's what I view love as. So in a lot of relationships, a lot of people do reflect and mirror back to us the parts of us that we either didn't have the capacity to love, or refuse to love, or accept, or it would literally reflect back to us childhood experience or things repressed, memories or emotions, again, that were not loved and embraced by that said matriarchal figure or patriarchal figure. And the importance of that is the matriarchal figure. So I feel like that's all I have right now. So again, it's amazing, man, what's happening today. It's like the healing that's happening within us and around us and through us and so forth. So y'all take care of yourself. Peace and blessings. Shalom.